Okay, so we're up to Siman Samach Dalet. Says the Mechaber, Halacha Aleph. Kra lemafreya lo yotza. If a person read Krias Shema in the wrong order, then he has not been yotza the mitzvah. That is true if he read the psukim in the wrong order. Yeah, he started with the last pasuk of Shema, then he went back to, I don't know, he read the psukim in the wrong order. But if he did the parshios in the wrong order, even though he shouldn't have done that, he should have done it in order, but the evidence has been yotza. Because these three parshas are not in that order in the Torah, they're not next to each other, and therefore the parshas are not ma'akev. So you do the psukim in the wrong order, that's a problem. You do the parshas in the wrong order, but the ever that is okay. It says in the Mishnah Berurah, Sivkot Aleph, Lo yotza, Shenema, V'hoyu hadvarim ha'eleh. They've got to be in that order. They're reading the psukim in the order they're in the Torah. V'af parshas vayoma, and so too with the third parsha vayoma. K'shetiknu rabbanon la'amra mishum mitzvah zechiras yisis Mitzrayim. Chazal Mesachin, we read the third paragraph to fulfill the mitzvah of zechiras yisis Mitzrayim. Gam kein zeh tiknuha, that you read it in the order that it appears in the Torah, i.e. that third paragraph has got to be read the psukim in the correct order. Ha-psukim v'kolshkenim siris satevis, and if you've got to read the psukim in the right order, certainly you shouldn't get the words in the wrong order, the words and the psukim in the correct order, but the paragraphs, but the eved, not. She'ena smucha, says the Mishnah Berurah, Sivkot Gimel, Rotzulema, she'en ele takonos chachomim she'em sidrum kach, because the paragraphs were instituted by the chachomim, and why did they put it that way around? We say Shema to Mekabel Mach Shemayim, V'acha Kach Yigbol Olav Ol Mitzvahs, which is the second paragraph. V'hoyim Tishmu, etc., etc. Okay, Halacha Beis. Kara Parsha V'To'aba. Now, what mistakes in Krias Shema? A person read Shema, and you made a mistake. Im Yodea Heichen Ta, if you know where you're up to when you made the mistake, Kugoin. She'kara Kula Ela She'dilek Posuk Echad Be'em. So you just missed out one posuk. So what do you do? You go back to the beginning of that pasuk, and then you carry on, and you finish off the parsha. Then you got to go back to the beginning of the parsha. It says the Mishnah Berurah, Sivkot Dalet, v'to'ah, b'kozav prichodosh, dafka to'ah, aval behezid or miskaven chayzel rosh. If you did it on purpose, I don't know why, but you on purpose left out one pasuk, then you've got to go back. Now, the Pasuk Echad, you miss out one sentence. Ve'im dileg teva achas, if you miss out one word, some say that it's enough just to go back to that word and finish it and say it. If it's starting a new theme. So in the pasuk of v'shenantam levonecha v'dibarto bom, the person left out the word v'dibarto. Yeah, it's a new Indian. You've always got to go back to the beginning of that pasuk. The goyme haparsha. So if you left out a pasuk, then you go back to the beginning of the parsha. Because if you read just that pasuk, when you remember, so you've got a problem of kriya lemafreya because you've done the psukim in the wrong order. You've done the late psukim first, and then you go back to it. And even if you remember that you've missed out a pasuk, let's say you've missed out a pasuk in the first paragraph of Shema, and you finish the second paragraph, and then you say, hey, I forgot the pasuk of V'shenantam levonecha, for example. Again, you just have to read the beginning of the first parsha and read the first parsha again, because like we said, the order of the parshas are not ma'akev. L'reish parsha, you go back to the beginning of the parsha, machmasofik, va'afilu hoyezeh parsha shnia, even if this is the second parsha, afilu leman dom parsha shnia is drabonon, even according to man dom it says the second parsha is drabonon, to kiven the osuk b'Krias Shema tzorech l'saken hakol. If you're busy doing Krias Shema, you've got to do it properly. V'im hoyezeh parsha rishona, and if you made a mistake in the first parsha, tolu b'zeh, depends on the following. If a person remembers that he said the pasuk of Shema and Baruch Shema says, with kavana, then chayze levahavta. All you have to do is go back to vahavta. If you don't remember Shema bekavana, belav hochi chayze l'rosh, then in any event you've got to go back to the beginning because you've got to say Shema with kavana. Ki kimin shelokar bekavana hari kolokar klalis hapasuk Shema, as if you didn't say it. And therefore Memela, you've got to say the first parsha again, that you shouldn't be reading it lemafreya. Like we said yesterday, you either read it quietly or just wait a moment or two. That you shouldn't be saying Shema Shema. Now, third sif, Gimel. Very interesting mistake you make. Ta ben parsha leparsha. You make a mistake, you're not sure which parsha in. Shehu yodea shesim a parsha. I know I'm at the end of a paragraph, but I can't remember if I'm at the end of the first paragraph or the second paragraph. They tell the story of a fellow who's taking his tefillin off, and he's finding himself, he's got his tefillin shel yad on, and his tefillin shel rosh on the table. And he can't remember, am I putting my tefillin on, or am I taking them off? Right? Am I putting them on, I've just put on my shel yad and I'm about to put on, or am I taking them off? Yeah, I can't remember. So a guy comes to the end of the paragraph Shema. Am I the end of the first paragraph or the second paragraph? Says the Mechaber, Ta ben parsha leparsha sheyodeh siyim parsha ve'en yodeh im rishonim shniya chose leparsha rishona v'yaskol v'hoim shemaya. You go back to the parsha rishona and then you begin, and then you say v'hoim shemaya. Says the Mishnah Berurah ve'en yodeh umayri she'en zeicha klal shum teva she'omer parsha shniya. You can't remember saying any word of the second paragraph. And you also remember not beginning the word Vayomer. Why? If you remember beginning the word Vayomer, if you already said the words Vayomer, then mistama, you're in the flow, and you've already said the same paragraph, and therefore presumably you've said the first and the second paragraph. Halacha dalet, hoya omed uchsavtom. Very interesting case. You're saying the words uchsavtom, ve'en yodea im uchsavtom beparsha rishona im beuchsavtom beparsha shniya. You're not sure which uchsavtom are you up to, the first paragraph or the second paragraph. Chayze uchsavtom b'rishona. You go back to the uchsavtom of the first paragraph. V'hani mili shelo hischel leman yirbu yemechem. That's only if you have not yet started leman yirbu. Aval im hischel leman yirbu yemechem ein tzorich lachzor de sircha Nakat va'osa, because mistama you're in the flow and therefore you just keep on going. Says Mishnah Berurah, Sif Cotton Tess, Omed buchsavtom, Deholoi Omar ukshartom, because you haven't yet said ukshartom, Mishum diyesh hefresh. Now this is interesting. I guess unless you actually look inside, you probably won't notice this. But it says in the last pasuk of the first paragraph, ukshartom la'is al yodecha. Where have I said it right? Yeah. Right? Now, the first one, it says ukashar tom in the first paragraph. In the second paragraph, it says ukashar tem. Where is it? Ukashar tem. What's the difference? So it says Mishnah Berurah. V'hodelei oma ukashar tom, ololei has mishum diyesh hefresh. To ukashar tom, Horishnu bekomatz, it's ukashar tom, shu loshen yochid. Yeah, that's in the individual, the loshen yochid. V'hasheni, and the second one, who besegol, shu loshen rabim, ukashar tem, which is loshen rabim. Therefore, v'taz kosav oitam, she'in derech litois be'emsa. And that people don't generally make mistakes in the middle. Because you can see how long you're into it. Is it early on, which suggests you're in the first paragraph, or is it a bit longer that perhaps you're in the second paragraph? When you're at the very end, it's a little bit longer. Then it's possible to make a mistake, because maybe you've probably at that stage, you've been saying it for enough time that you've probably finished the second paragraph. Im hischil, rotzolema. V'nistapek loy achakach, omar halaman yirbu, acha uchsavtan sheparsha rishena. What can a person do? A person can go into, if you feel that you finish Shema very quickly, the mistake could have been that you said laman yirbu after the uchsavtan of the first paragraph. And the Shema siyem ha-parsha shniya, im sivkotten yud, im hischil rotzolema. V'nistapek loy achakach, even then, we don't make you go back. The a person normally goes with your routine, which is to say leman yirbu after uchsavtom. And certainly if you find yourself in another word in the second paragraph, mistama, that's where you're up to, and you've just sort of followed your normal pattern. The mistama because that's what you normally do. There's a presumption that you followed and you said everything till now. So you've got Yud Aleph. Now, kol ze kasher b'yochid. That's true if you're davening b'yichidus. If you're with davening in shul, you can see that the shliach tzibur is up to chusavtom still in the first paragraph, or thereabouts. Then you should go back to that pasuk of the first paragraph. Because if everyone is up to the first paragraph still, that's presumably where you should be. And so too the other way around. If you're up to Chsavtim, the pasuk Shulchan Aruch to Chayzu Chsavtim Arishan, in Rosh Hashliach Tzibur, Tzibur Oimnu Chsavtim Shebeshniya, Oisamachrim and Fonim Achrov, then the rest of the Tzibur are holding by the second paragraph. Yom Gamkein Achach HaPasuk Leman Yirbu. Dom Mistama Hu Kara Gamkein Ashniya Kamosim, because Mistama, that's where you're up to. For Raglaim Ledov Ikka, and you can follow that presumption. V'din Im Shina Be'ezeh Bracha. If a person deviated from the bracha that Chazal instituted, okay, so what comes out is, it's always good to use a siddur and to be awake and to follow properly. Okay, let's say that.